From the creators of 40 Days of Past Lives and Karma and 40 Days of Self-Love comes the class you've been waiting for, an introduction to Step Astrology. That's right, I'm sharing some of my inside secrets on how to read a chart according to Step Astrology and help you interpret the stars, whether it's for yourself or for clients. Keep a lookout for us coming soon. Your Step Astrology for this week. On Wednesday, the apex is a full moon at 20 degrees Sagittarius, where you're going to cut the old story you used to tell yourself and leave room for the story you were born to live. The only problem is we can make last minute changes. Greetings and blessings to you, my friends, galactic family, and earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Wotecki, the sensei to serious joy, and also your cosmic guide and cosmic comedian to helping you ascend each week towards our big picture of ascension. And boy, is the earth beginning to ascend this week. Things rapid fire. Our step headlines are, on Sunday, June 8th, Jupiter will move into Cancer for the first time since 2013. If you have any memories of the second half of 2013, that version was the cold one. We predict emotions will be flaring high in this particular cycle around. Then, of course, Wednesday, June 11th, we have the full moon in Sagittarius at step 20 Sag. This will draw a line between the two stories, but your emotions will determine the outcome. And Friday, the sun will square the nodes at step 22. That means expect the unexpected. Who knows what will happen, but you can use that moment to alchemize. But before we talk planets in the nitty-gritty, let's take a look. If you're watching this show on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified. If you don't mind, please like this video right now so the algorithm will also favor us. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or other platforms today, please do the same. Leave a comment, like it if it's applicable, and tell us why you're here today so we can also populate those algorithms. Well, friends, it's going to be a powerful week coming ahead because we have a transformation of our energy about the future. You see, with the sun in Gemini, you are rewriting the way you think. But with the earth in Sagittarius, you are rewriting your story and the collective timeline we're going on. So for this week, we are in essence, holding emotional space for our wild ideas. This is the moment where God Universe is going to ask you, what is it that your heart truly desires when it comes to your future and your story? And if it's kind of wild and out there, you've got to put up some boundaries that leave space for what is now termed as impossible as not only possible, but your life's mission. Now, in order to pull this off, we have to reconcile our self-love in the new thoughtware. If you're just joining us, then you may now be learning that Sun in Gemini this year is not just an upgrade of our thinking. It's an entirely new operating system for humankind based on having faced our issues with our karma when we had this Pisces transit, having faced our issues with our ego. In Aries, we launched the WeGo. Then we expanded our potential for manifestation. We call now materialization in Taurus. And so this particular week is the one where you can finally preserve your self-love and your new thoughtware and move forward in a future that is not clouded by the bad happening, but is rather highlighting the good that can come. We also have this week Jupiter going into Cancer. I mentioned it on the cold open. That Jupiter in Cancer is a big deal. It means that we're going to be growing up emotionally. Growing up emotionally means that society is going to be triggered and have to face their own emotional nurturing. You will have nothing that will make you feel better but you with Jupiter in Cancer. But by the time Jupiter leaves Cancer next year in 2026, everyone, at least on the planet right now, who's aware is going to feel very confident about their feelings. It's not going to be something that tears us down. So there's a key question this week that we want to ask ourselves. And this is one that ties into our Sun in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. And that is, do we believe that the mental upgrades we are making are inevitable? There's been a lot of questions among lightworkers as to whether or not materialism should be something we focus on. But in essence, either if you focus on it or not, do you feel that this is going to be a mental upgrade that leads to abundance? And that's the question to ask yourself over and over this week. Because energetically, as we're swapping out the script of the movie, we're technically still shooting the movie in full flare. And as we write that movie, as we create that manifestation, we have to also take advantage of Uranus and Taurus, which is saying it's now time to take materialism and the basics of materialism and take it to a higher level. That higher level could be communication between our fellow brothers and sisters. That higher level could be that we are incorporating with others. We no longer have competition. But on the flip side of all of this, with this innovation and change, we're going to have the nodes move to step 22 just around the corner. That means that we have the potential to alchemize not only the potential of our manifestation, but we have the potential to change timelines at the last minute. In a nutshell, this is going to be an intense week because in 1 week, the planets are showing if you follow your mindset of the new way to think about yourself, if you move forward with the story you were born to, and from the story you're born to the story you're born to live, not only can we have the future we want, but humans, for the first time, I think, in soul history, will start to begin to take charge of the collective and take charge of where our destiny goes. Well, we have a lot to talk about. We'll be right back after this message.
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding on to residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.
This week's show is sponsored by Refresh My Property. Did you know discordant energies like illness, trauma, violence, and even depression can linger on your property for hundreds of years? If you're feeling blocked or unsettled in your space, refreshmyproperty.net can help you clear these energies remotely and swiftly. Get your free consultation today. All right, friends, now it's time to dive deep into what all this means with our planets and transits. We're officially in the new, my friend. That is a new reality of looking at life from a new perspective. And that perspective is you always knew, which is happening, by the way. After that new moon we had in Gemini, I myself was feeling the new, but I was surprised because I channel a lot of this information and just how powerful that new is, how powerful it can be by transitioning all of our energy into a new mindset that assumes we always will know and therefore does not continue to argue with the facts or look for the facts. Instead, what this is really is the empowerment of the collective. You are taking back what you think is true. You are taking back how your mind operates. And a lot of that taking back happens literally this week. So looking at some of the transits that we have going on over the course of the week, I want to just kind of go through a little bit of the week itself and talk about the changes that happen at the same time. We begin this week energetically with ourselves moving into, of course, Gemini and the master degrees. Once you get to the master degrees, this is degrees of 20 and above, you are dealing with everything you feel and then what you think. This is very important because this follows the nature of the step system. Step 2, I feel, comes way before step 5, I think. And this is really our final chance in this last decan to get it right energetically by consulting our feelings and picking up on anything we might be missing in our mental focus so that we can now have our official mental opinion and the direction and narrative on the path of our emotional needs. This is alone, I think, is part of what ascension is. I think ascension for many people has been to take control of their own nurturing of their feelings and to own how they feel in the future rather than let the universe decide how they will feel. Well, it's now time to pay the piper, so to speak, and really do what you've preached this whole time, Christopher, or do what you practiced this whole time or not to the viewer. Energetically, this is the moment, I think, where we pull things off by combining our feelings in neutrality with our thoughts and our attitude. And over the course of the week, probably the apex is going to be, as I mentioned, the full moon in Sagittarius. That's where we draw the final line as to whether or not our old story will manifest or not. But let's dive in now to some of the planets and what's happening literally energetically that's going to bring us to this new place. This week with your Sun in Gemini, our heart will transit step 16 all the way to step 22. That means that your heart will be ultimately making the decisions on how the mind ought to approach, on the one hand, a new day-to-day philosophy or a new day-to-day ritual or details. You might find yourself scrambling and transforming how you work, how you operate, who you talk to, who you don't. And then as we move to step 20 and beyond, we have the possibilities of changing everything at this point, because the top 20s of all signs is where your feelings get involved. So the heart this week literally go from how you are committed to the moment, and then how that leads to your attitude and your emotions about the future. Interestingly enough, Jupiter energetically is at step 29 this week. 29 is the Grandmaster final step. So you may find that your beliefs are pushed to the limit as far as how your mind used to think about things. Jupiter will actually move into Cancer, creating step 0 and the foundation for our new emotional security. And then Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, goes from step 25 to step 7 Cancer. So while our hearts are making a choice for dedication in the future, the mind will be running kind of real-time scenarios to see whether or not that's going to be applicable for us going forward. Now, I do think that everything is possible going forward when you look at the fertility of what's going on in Taurus. In Taurus, we have Venus this week moving from step 0 to step 6. That means the universe needs you to open up and accept your self-worth. You got to basically cash that check you've written yourself and follow through. It does mean it'll be easier than usual to own your worth. And it does mean you'll become much more popular and energetically with the law of attraction, allowing you to bring in the things you really need. Uranus is at a steady step 28 all week. That's the Grandmaster step of Taurus, which tells me that everything you're doing under the hood is going to manifest in a new vehicle altogether, so to speak. So this is a powerful week for manifestation, and it's important you get your feelings and your thoughts on the same page. But then we have that pesky Wego, Aries. Right now in the consciousness of Aries, we have Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron. Saturn and Neptune being the heavy players, but this week they both shift step numbers. So expect a shift in your relationship to yourself and the formation of what we call the Wego. Saturn this week goes from step 0 to step 1, Aries. Of course, the last time this happened was in the late 90s. So we haven't really been making a lot of decisions about taking our power back. But from going to 0 to 1, that is exactly what I predict will happen this week. That you were holding space and hoping last week. Now you're demanding. Now you're commanding. Neptune this week moves from 1 to 2. And that's going to be the highest it goes actually in Aries this year. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. When Neptune hits step 2, any sign, you have full conscious spectrum access to the future. So you could say for those who understand how to look in the future, the door is now open. And Chiron this week goes from step 25 to step 26, Aries. This is the part of us that's been trying to heal from our old ego blunders in past lives and not be that same arrogant whatever in this one. Well, we finally are ready to make some commitments with Chiron ending at step 26. You're going to heal your capacity to pick up your power and move forward. Now, looking at the emotions in the background of all these changes, the moon is in Scorpio for Saturday and Sunday. So expect a weekend of where you have to draw emotional distinctions between that was then and this is now, or that was then and this shall be the future. But having to know where your feelings end and what has to be stopped in order to feel good is simultaneously with your highest interest. Then Monday, the moon moves from Scorpio into Sagittarius. And this is where we have the countdown to the full moon. Because as the moon is in Sagittarius, you'll be emotionally reminiscing to all of your changes in your belief structure. Maybe when you're a kid, you told everyone your life was about this. And then after college, you told everyone your life is about that. So you could say that when the moon is in Sag and leading up to that full moon in Sag, you are reviewing all those stories you've had in this lifetime. It's almost like a near-death experience, but at the same time, it also ends with quite a punch when the moon crosses over the galactic center after the apex. And then Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday, it's back to business as we are now moving forward with what to trust about the future. We are emotionally shutting down and calling the race. So feelings will be directing your life towards the end of this week. Let them direct. Now, also it's important to look at the nodes, incidentally. We don't have a nodal shift this particular month, this week, but we do have the nodes moving from step to step. That step will go from 23 to 22. The important thing about this is that the North Node of Pisces is saying it's now time to move forward with our spiritual vision of who we are. And I think by allowing yourself to follow on that spiritual vision, you are at the same time with the South Node in Virgo releasing what vision you once had and what life had become. If you do this correctly, you're going to find that at the end of the week, when we have this nodal shift to 22, that things begin to transform, magic starts to happen, and you start a law of attracting miracles if need be. So I've been holding off, folks. We're almost there as far as the universe's support. Now, in Virgo energy, very important, the South Node, we are letting go, frankly, of our attachments just the way it's supposed to be and the way it had become. And this is something that's very difficult. Virgo energy feels very permanent, but if you follow us week after week on this show, you'll learn how to overcome that permanence and really focus yourself on what's important. What we want to tell you is that to this week, because of this from 23 to 22, it's vitally important to have self-compassion in everything you process in this spectrum. In Scorpio, we do have basically a boogeyman known as Black Moon Lilith. She will stay at step 8 Scorpio, which means we will be facing past life fears and traumas, the epicenter around us making the wrong decision for ourselves. So if you're a person who's been married to the wrong people and made those wrong commitments, that fear of that wrong is going to come up. But just don't let yourself degrade on your beliefs, because over in Aquarius, we do have Pluto retrograde at step 3 Aquarius. That means that as you move forward with all these changes I mentioned, you have to also embrace what you believe in yourself and not allow any self-talk to talk you out of it. And then lastly, I think the important topic is Leo. Leo, which is the sign of love. Leo, which is the sign of celebrity and shine. Mars is in Leo and goes from step 24 to step 27 this week. That means that it's now time to put your money where your mouth is. It's time to accept the joy you're going for, allow yourself to have it, give yourself permission to have it, and treat yourself like a king or queen. You've got to put yourself on a high self-love vibration level to actually pull that off.
It's in the stars to seriously change your life with a subscription to Serious Joy. Sign up now for your personalized step astrology and daily pep talks. Highly predictive astrology sent via text and email. Daily Zodiac weather reports, advanced lectures, classes, edutainment series, and more. Sign up today for only $3.99 to seriously change your life. Only on SeriousJoy.com.
I help people to kind of get in touch with their gut, which some people believe is your first brain now, right?
Right.
And what the coolest part about what I do is that it's not like I sell anybody on anything. Like, people come to me because they know that they need to get to me, either for higher self work, colon hydrotherapy work, how to have like living food in your world, how to create your purpose, how to tap your intuition, how to align chakras, systemic like energy moving through the body. I take care of people to help them to realign their integrity within themselves for their mind, body, and spirit. And the integrity is really the right relationship. It's not like a moral judgment or anything. It's just right relationship. And I feel like a lot of people in this world know that they're not in right relationship and aren't always sure how to get back into it.
Here we're back with Soul Horoscopes, probably the most popular part of the show and the part of my career that has gone on from the beginning. Since 19 years ago when I started this show, I would do the 12 signs and everything going on, and that has been really what keeps people here week after week, is the fact that you will have articulate knowledge on your sun sign and your rising sign. This is also a great place to share with your friends or family, because it seems that Serious Joy always needs a personal invitation. This week in our Soul Horoscopes, tripping on myself, we're going to be working on 4 categories, as I always like to do for each of the 12 signs, and let me go over them real quickly with you. One is the sun in Gemini. We want to be reminded of where we are now approaching our thoughts and our communication from the perspective of long-term objectives and strategy. I'll tell you in your horoscope exactly where that will be for your sign. We also have this week Jupiter moving into Cancer for the first time since 2013. We invite you to go back to 2013 and think about what changed from 13 to 14. It'll be in the same spot this time, but I feel we're much wiser, and so it will be a different manifestation. And then we have that full moon in Sagittarius coming up this week. That's going to be where we draw a line between an old belief structure about the future and a new belief structure about the future. The tough part of this particular full moon is that it's going to be at step 20, leaving us vulnerable. So part of the key of this is going to be drawing your boundaries and isolating your energy and focusing just on yourself. First and always first, the Aries. Aries, you are focusing on, with the wrap up of Sun and Gemini, your ability to think in a long-term fashion for your attitude and intellectual properties or big plans you intend to do. So you are endorsing emotionally with the Sun step 20 and higher after the full moon. You are emotionally endorsing a direction your thoughts are going. And part of that protection you have to do on the step 20 day of the new moon is protecting the fact that you don't know all the details, and that's okay. There's no need to rush. There's no need to push things. And it's all right you don't have the details. That's how everyone else actually does it in the end. So as you move forward this week with that Sun blazing through your ability to process information, communicate, and find the big picture of things, Jupiter will ingress in Cancer for the first time since 2013. That means for the next year, Aries and Aries risings in particular will be cleaning out their spiritual junk in their trunk of family. It's now time to think past those issues, to grow out of those issues, and you might get a little bit of a feeling of what that means as soon as Jupiter ingresses. And then, of course, we have the full moon in Sagittarius, which will happen on Wednesday, 6/11 at 3:43 a.m. in the Eastern Time. This full moon in Sagittarius ultimately comes down to a line being drawn between the beliefs you were told to believe and the beliefs that come from your heart. That's the authentic line that will happen for the Aries. And I think Aries, as much as you can be pushy and tough, you don't like it when people don't like you, just like your Libra opposite. And so I feel that this is a good exercise to let these feelings come in and weigh them against the collective. Taurus. Taurus, you are focusing these last degrees of Gemini on abundance and your ability to distribute and manufacture. And I kept asking myself, in the Gemini transit, where is it changing for us? Where is it changing? And then I had an epiphany and a realization. So I'm just telling you, keep your eye open for that change and shift. But what's happening is you're going to have a different mental mindset on the way you abundance and your potential for making money. So this is a good indicator that you will, by the way, when I tell you these other two aspects. One is that Jupiter is now going into Cancer. For Taurus and Taurus risings, this has not happened since 2013. And this is where you expand your thoughts and your emotions. Tauruses allow their feelings to actually close down their thoughts. And I think that this Jupiter in Cancer is going to open up for unlimited possibilities and restoring your belief that you can do just about anything. With the full moon in Sagittarius, however, it's going to be about drawing some emotional lines. Tauruses are afraid of feeling certain things, and in that fear, they block the transformation or mastery of a particular part of themselves. So the full moon will say it's now time to cut a cord between your emotional attachment of the past and your emotional desires of the future. And then as we move forward through the full moon, the Sun in Gemini will actually allow you, with the emotional baggage cut, to rise higher into your potential for abundance. Gemini! Happy birthdays, Gemini. I've been joking. I haven't seen the Geminis make their big reboot click yet, where they're going to completely transform the way they think and everything in their life as they see it. So disclaimer, we're in that high zone right now where that can happen. But as we wrap up your birthday period, you really are emotionally stepping into what you want to think about in the future. I mean, that's really how Geminis do it. They want to think about some things. They don't want to think about others. And so if you've got the important stuff in the think about and process with your feelings, not abandoning them, you're going to come into a new level of power that you haven't experienced before. Now, with Jupiter going into Cancer, it does mean that for the first time since 2013, you're going to have to work on your abundance. You're going to be realizing energetically what it takes for you to emotionally provide and manifest what you want in an abundant scale. So this does mean that you might be a little emotional once Jupiter goes into Cancer about your current status of revenue or some debt you may be still owing. Lastly, the full moon in Sagittarius for you, Gemini, is going to be very important because you're now drawing an emotional line. I believe Sagittarius is, we're basically living in, happily ever after and not really then happy with what was happening after. So this is the end of, I think, smoothing over relationships with this story you tell yourself and the beginning of reinventing story with marriage and partnership. all the while building quite a character out of you with the sun in Gemini. Cancers. Cancers, you are working on, in this last degrees of Gemini, your connection to God Creator and perhaps downloading some of your personal mission you've come here to do. A lot of people, especially if this is 12th house, don't really get that mission or assignment until they go through this expansion of the 12th house. So for many Cancers, this is going to be letting you out of the fish tank, allowing you to swim past the stuff that you don't want to swim in anymore. Now, this ability to move forward with this new faith and this new connection to yourself, this allows for real homegrown, easy to understand changes in your daily lifestyle. And that's what the Earth in Sagittarius is going to provide and help you with. At the same time, though, if we look at Jupiter moving into Cancer, this is a time where you're going to really have the potential to have that abundance that you always wanted. But it also means that you're going to have to be focused on marriage and partnership on the full moon. I think I fucked up, guys. Sorry. I'm having a hard time.
Okay. Do you want to just take
I was
Cancer?
on Gemini, right? Okay, so I started Cancer, and yeah. You have them in rows here, and my eyes will go to the wrong row. I'm going to use like a click now and make it a little different on me out here. So we're on Cancer, right? So we'll go Cancer, right? We finished Gemini?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's where my mind got scrambled at the end of Gemini. Cancers! Cancers, you're wrapping up this Gemini transit by finding some real faith, real connection, or starting a dialogue with the company of heaven. You are a person who approaches spirituality from a mental perspective. And so now it's time to bring those two sauces together into one great sauce, which is that your thoughts and your feelings are aligned to connect to higher self. And that what you probably did imagine was the emotional attitude behind your words might have been keeping you from that connection that you wanted. Now, Jupiter, for the first time in 12 years, moves into your sign this week. The last time was 2013. What it comes down to is the expansion of your behavior and thinking twice before you take any action. You will be under luck and probably be encouraged by the universe anytime you're going to do something wrong. But also, this is one of the toughest Jupiters to transit because when it hits your sign, you grow so fast. Now, the full moon of Sagittarius for you, Cancer, is going to be a line between your lifestyle performance and your overall higher faith. The universe wants you to have that higher faith, but you're going to have to disconnect and cut away that story where you ended up alone or you ended up happily ever after, or your lifestyle ended up being picked up by something this or something that. Basically, I think the way Cancers have been projecting their lifestyle to be was sort of as a victim or handcuffed to something they didn't want. And we're seeing now with Cancers, especially with this particular full moon at Sagittarius, you're going to have the ability to cut from those old stories and write your happy ending yourself. Leos, you are actually working on social ambition with this final degree of Gemini. You may or may not know that your feelings about yourself permeate in your social society world. So it's not just about getting the thoughts right. It's about getting the subtext right in your communication and connecting to your audience at a more emotional level. I would argue this is a somewhat new feature for Leos, as we haven't seen that before. Overall, you're going to find that you go through and you're going to find that you jumpstart and jump ahead when it comes to your social ambition this week. Now, when Jupiter goes into Cancer for the first time since 2013, you're going to now move into the sign of understanding your subconscious, your karma, and how certain feelings that play in your soul have nothing to do with actually this moment. They have to do with another moment in past lives that this moment is reminding your soul of. So I think that this is a great year for Leos to focus on being psychic because the fun starts with Jupiter in Cancer. And then the full moon in Sagittarius is really important because this is the second chance for Leos to get what their heart has always wanted, which you are here to do, by the way, but some Leos have learned the hardest way. That is, this full moon is going to be at step 20 Sagittarius, drawing a line between what your heart thought you wanted to what your heart actually wants. And so I feel that Leos have duped themselves over the past, thinking that they would get what their heart wants without having to invest in their heart. The universe is calling your bluff now, but the good news is, Your Majesty, if you follow through and protect your heart's interest, you will have that serious joy. Virgos, you are focusing on your career and legacy. It's so kind of funny. I always say every Virgo I know has got some sort of entanglement with a Gemini. And in your astrology, your natal astrology, this means that you have an entanglement with career legacy. All right. So you'll be putting the finishing steps and touches on where you see your career and legacy going. And as we wrap up with the full moon, you're going to find you're going to let go of the emotional baggage that might have been holding you back. Now, Jupiter moving into Cancer, this is the first time the universe has invested in your social reputation since 2013. This is a time where you need to expect the unexpected and also anticipate good opportunities around the way. I would say with Jupiter moving to Cancer, every Virgo must be ready to change their plans. You can commit to what your plans are, but plan to change your plans, because if you are going to work with the universe in co-creation, it's an inevitable thing that has to happen. Now, the full moon in Sagittarius does mean that you're going to draw an emotional line between family and emotional security, and secondly, where you intend to go in your career. In essence, the planets are showing that because you have not fully healed or processed out certain emotional baggage you have attached to you, you will be limited in what you can do when it comes to your career. Now is the time, friends. If you need help, join SeriousJoy.com. Libras, you are on the final touches of Gemini, moving to put yourself in motion when it comes to your purpose. Now, your purpose is actually a purpose that embraces your uniqueness and your new ideas. And it's funny I said uniqueness, because Librans are sort of known to go along with the story. But what all this energy in Gemini is saying is it's time for Libras to own their stories and own their wisdom. Now, as you're moving in these final degrees, we have Jupiter moving into Cancer, which means that you're going to have all of your luck and fortune now shift to your own personal self-leadership, your self-discipline, and your potential also to succeed in your career. So the universe is saying, I know it's been tough, Libras, but you're now being put onto the success path. The full moon in Sagittarius has to do with your attitude and intellectual property that you have. Probably because you have not learned to use boundaries, you may be very defensive about certain ideas you have or creative projects, and very tight-lipped about it in general. What the universe is saying is it's now time to go ahead and open up and trust. And if you have the right boundaries in place and you're emotionally nurturing yourself, you can now share some of your feelings in different aspects, which I think will allow your intellectual property concerns or your desire to make original thought published or something like that, it will now go further. So emotions make things go further. Scorpio, you are this month, and this week, wrapping up all the important details about what you do the best, alchemize. And it's funny, people don't realize how powerful Scorpios are, because from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like you change at all. But you have the ability to change completely from shifting your inner frequencies in order to pop to the outer frequencies. And so I think that Scorpios are going to have a chance this week to do just that. I don't care how long you've been suffering. I don't care how long you've been addicted to a substance. Whatever it may be, this particular third decan, eighth house transit is going to be off the charts. You have the ability to change everything. Now, perhaps what may be helping that is that Jupiter is now moving into Cancer. And for you, this means you'll now start to expand your feelings about legacy and purpose. If you want to blame anything, it seems like you have not done the work to understand why you've done the work, why you've been on that path. So with Jupiter in Cancer, you're going to be a bit more moody about what you believe and don't believe, but you're going to be leading on to that true purpose. The full moon in Sagittarius is going to help you with abundance and transformation and of your distribution network. This full moon at 20 degrees Sagittarius draws an emotional line between the past, the present, and hopefully the future. And this emotional line has to do with the assistance of anything you want to manifest. So in essence, you are allowing yourself now to raise your potential in earnings and soul capital simply by transforming what you will or won't do on your resume. Sagittarius. Sag, you are going to be putting the final steps of what you think about long-term partnership. And I think Sagittarius are always friends with whoever they're with. This next level of till death do you part, this idea that you stay no matter how things change, that friction has been really heavy on Sagittarius probably their whole life. But I feel now you are truly stepping into your power to believe in what you want to believe in and to turn your back on influencers influencing you. Now, moving forward, we have Jupiter in Cancer, which means that you're going to have to actually get much more sensitive about your feelings, because it's your feelings that you actually use to draw where the line is. So no matter what happens, be conscientious of those feelings. The full moon in your sign at step 20 means you will be officially, I was going to say beheading, but I have to now, beheading an old character that you were either admiring that you wanted to be like in the future, or a character that was being randomly created by society instead of by you. So you're cutting the emotional ties to some sort of image you had of yourself, What this allows you to do is then look with your whole heart on your intellectual approach of long-term partnerships. And remember, as I said, I do believe that you'll be changing a lot of long-term partnerships due to the astrology of our times. All right. Capricorns. Capricorns, you are going to put the finishing plans on a lifestyle transformation with the sun in Gemini. But this year in the lifestyle transformation, you have the ability to have Jupiter in this place. So basically, Capricorns have been sponsored by the universe to do a makeover of their lifestyle. And that could not be more important than right now. You can still do it in the late stages and get that file with the universe. Now, changing your lifestyle is so important, Capricorns, because you've allowed your lifestyle of self-slavery to determine all sorts of things, or you've allowed work to interfere with your lifestyle. By taking charge of your lifestyle and the way you live, you actually take in charge of your entire life. So it's a 1-4 and many returns. The energy going forward with Jupiter in Cancer means you're about to spend a year now feeling through your emotional maturity and patience when it comes to relating to you and it comes to relating to others. So you are officially expanding your marriage vows, which means I would say, just as a precautionary, you won't do business again emotionally until you've gotten through at least the first third of that. So it's a good put off if someone's trying to date in a hard way. The full moon, though, for you is pretty powerful because this will be a turning point in your story with God. I've noticed that many Sagittarius have been helping out early in the mornings here at Serious Joy. I've noticed Sagittarius kind of coming in, and now I know why. Because Sagittarius are finding their connection to the change of social ambition. They're going to be a big part of the age of Aquarius, particularly with who we should be in society and how we gauge that. Well, nonetheless, I think it does start to move forward fully for you this weekend. Aquarius. Aquarius, you are now figuring out your personal dreams for the last degrees of Gemini. In fact, the last degrees of Gemini are your serious joy zones. This is the part where you are so happy, you don't even know what day of the week it is, and you haven't taken roll call. When you get in that super happy place when it comes to personal dreams, it's infectious because other people want what you are having, so to speak. So you're going to spend this last few days of Gemini focusing on precisely what you think about just that, what you think about your personal dreams and whether they can happen. With Jupiter moving into Cancer, it's going to give you some liquidity on how to emotionally cope with a changing lifestyle. Think back to 2013. That was the last time the universe said it was time to get in the pool, Aqua, and get a little wet with emotion. How far have you come since then? Because now, believe it or not, Aquas will actually be appealing to collective emotion in order to prove thoughts and direction of where things are going. Now, that full moon in Sagittarius at step 20 means that you're going to cut emotional ties to an ambition you once had of who you want to be in the world. So, you know, as kids here in America anyways, they make us write at least 20 essays over our lifetime of what we want to be when we grow up. You could say that for Aquariuses, you didn't necessarily know what you wanted to be because you were very concerned about what you did not want to be. You did not want to ride the Atlantis island down again. But I feel this week you're going to have the strength to do that and draw your lines, which will focus in a major way your social ambition and how to get there. And then the Pisces. Pisces, you are working on a big chunk of the puzzle that, believe it or not, is the most important thing in your life right now. How big is that think tank? How big is that fish tank? Because you are now wrapping up the necessary information to feel supported by you and the universe and to kind of get yourself off of mama's nipple about wanting the universe to tell you everything's going to be okay. So this is a huge one. Pisces have been known to be a little codependent. And now the universe is saying, nope, not the new Pisces, not the new Pisces. The new Pisces knows how to emotionally nurture themselves, which means you might have more time in your mornings than you ever thought you could. Now, the other aspect here is with Jupiter going into Cancer. With Jupiter going into Cancer, you are getting the green light to run after everything your heart wants, Pisces. And we know that most Pisces are rather conservative, the ones I know anyways. And so this might also be permission to just have fun for the first time. But energetically, Jupiter now moves into an alignment for you to go after those personal dreams and to change your lifestyle to suit it. Now, the full moon in Sagittarius means that you'll be drawing a line at step 20 between your legacy in leadership and your emotional foundation. In other words, this will probably be the final lesson where you realize that you're not getting anywhere you want if you don't have emotional support for yourself. And it's not going to come out of just anywhere. The fact that your mom doesn't have any water and you have all the intellect or whatever in that kind of transit thing means that you ultimately are empowered with an awareness of being able to create your own legacy and leadership. But with this opposition of the full moon, the sun being in Gemini, you've got to take over for your mother. You've got to build that emotional foundation of safety, and that will release you to do anything you want to do with your career. All right. Well, I hope that was succinct and clear and helpful to you, friends. We're so grateful that you're here with Serious Joy. We're really honored that you came back after our hiatus. So we hope you've done a really good job in taking care of yourself, because now the sun is moving into Cancer, and that we're moving through these processes out of Gemini. Things are going to get a little intense. So batten down the hatches. We've got some emotional storms coming in the month of June. Until next week, thank you, friends. I love you, and live, love, be.
Are you a practitioner looking to move your life's work into the spotlight? Do you have that special magic that makes you stand out? Serious Joy is now auditioning for its new Practitioner of the Week segment on Namaste Today. Sensei Christopher is looking to highlight qualified lightworkers with a promo short dedicated to raising awareness about your gifts. Interested? Contact Jenny at intuitive.com to apply for an audition and get ready to shake what your spirit gave you.